will be.
It'll be fun. It'll be fine. It's fine.
It's fine. It's all fine. Good morning, everybody. Afternoon, morning, depending on when you're watching this. I am super excited because last week we were a little different in what we did, considering we just kind of chit-chatted the whole time. But today we're getting back to coffee cup questions. So I know we have some in there that we need to cover, so it's perfect timing.
Yeah, last week you just straight up ambushed me, and I had a list of questions, and we didn't get to any of them.
Mm-mm.
But we did have a really good conversation that continued. It's been a couple of different conversations, and they kind of grow on one another and deepen the conversation about it.
I think it's interesting is I've told you about this before, but I have this vision in my head of us starting a talk show morning show. Yes, I can see how we're going to do it. I just need my barn to be our space that we use, because obviously who doesn't host their talk show morning show in a barn, obviously. But I feel like talk shows are different than podcasts. I get that they're just people sitting and talking and having a conversation, and that's what I think is fun about so many podcasts. But I don't know, there's something about the seeing it and the dynamic and the it's just, I don't know, it's different. And I think there's some great talk shows. You look at the success of Oprah, you look at the success of The View, you look at, Rachel Ray, you look at Drew Barrymore now. I mean, there's so many, Ellen DeGeneres, there's so many talk shows from a worldly standpoint. But there really aren't any that aren't super cheesy 700 Club,
Okay, that was exactly what I was thinking.
Right?
The only kind that are available that are not super secular are, in fact, extra charismatic,
yeah,
evangelical, charismatic, that brand, that variety.
Or just,
and that's not.
Yeah, it's not what I'm thinking.
That's not us.
No.
But I cannot wait to figure out what you're talking about, because I still have no clue.
Yeah. See, the problem is, this is where I think that me being an event designer for so many years is the problem, because I can see a glimpse of a space and totally picture it all in my head. And I'm like, oh, I know exactly how this is going to look. I need these items. Give me a couple hours. So I do understand that that is my problem, because I'm ooh, I have an idea. I can see it. It's locked in here. Now I just need the barn and you to be here. We can make it all happen. That's all we need. All you got to do is.
I need a couch, 3 trash bags, 4 cameras, 1 light, maybe a disco ball, and we'll be great. And I'm what?
Just come on. It'll all be fine. You just right here, it's good.
It's fine. Okay.
But I think that would be so neat, because I think I know I'll get stuck on YouTube sometimes watching, a clip of, it's how they make them into shorts. So as you're scrolling, they're there. And I don't know, Drew Barrymore, or, I didn't even know she had a show, and then I was scrolling through. I was wow, this is a thing. But anyways, you see the different ones, and I'm why isn't there this, but for Christian women, but not cheesy or ultra charismatic or ultra some are just really wonky. I've seen some before that people have sent us, and I'm wow, that's a bit much, but I don't know. I think that would be so cool, because there's so many great conversations like this, and last week, real conversations, real topics. Think of what the types of videos I do every day, but together as a group, you know what I mean? With people, bringing it in. So it's not just, a talking head at you the whole time. But I don't know. I think something like that would be a ton of fun, and I can totally see it. And it's going to be a blast one day, Lord willing.
Yep.
It'll be fun.
I don't really have a choice at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you signed up to be the curtain puller in the back, but you're just way too good at this side of it. So It'll all be good. So what are our first questions today? I say this in love to the one person. Do you see somebody left us a comment that I was a very, like, they would never be friends with me because I was so rude and I interrupted you or something like that. Somebody said, and they were like, poor you, like I am a horrible friend and you shouldn't be friends with me, essentially. And well, I think we all interrupt one another in conversations to some degree throughout life, right? Like that will happen. I also know you very well because you're a very good friend of mine. And I know that you're shy and you have things. And so there are often times where I will jump in and just say, okay, we're going to go do this now because I know you're like, cue card, cue card, cue card. But I thought that that was so funny because somebody literally commented and said what a horrible friend I was. And I was like, I am so sorry if there has ever been at any point. I know that I'm like the little wind up doll that I show up and I'm like, hey, right? So I know I do that. And so I try to watch myself because I'm like, ooh, Heidi, shh, calm down. I get it. But I also know that it is oftentimes helpful as a friend for me to go, hey, okay, and the next question, what is it? There you go. You're safe. But I thought that was fun.
Just saying, this is not my podcast. I am just the person who asks you questions. So you can interrupt me as often as you'd like, because again, it's not my thing. I'm just the person who's like, hey, let me be the voice of the people. I don't know. So it's not my thing. And then B, I interrupt people so often that I literally have to bite my tongue because I am so awful at this. And I mute myself because I
just say it. And then you're like, ooh,
my brain starts thinking of all of the different things. And then it sometimes it's thinking of so much that it just shoots out my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally bite my tongue to keep from interrupting you. And this is your shtick, so you can interrupt me as often as you like. Okay.
So.
Just saying. Okay. You want a question?
Always.
Okay. I'm going to just read it.
Okay.
As a mom and grandma, not that you're a grandma yet, but
Monday.
How do you keep from trying to force them, I'm assuming your children and grandchildren,
okay,
to have faith and to say, no, God doesn't like that, or he's against this? How do you not make God look like a tyrant and for us to not be forceful and overbearing? That is a concept. I want to see them so badly trust God's love and to be saved. And that's not the world. I want them to know that God is real and that they are loved by him and that the Bible is true.
Right.
So this is me paraphrasing now. How would you go between the line of God doesn't like that? That's not what God would do. Because that's dictator. How do you do that line, but still lead them to the same understanding that that is the only truth that there is?
Right. I think that's an interesting question. It's a great question. I think that's what's so hard and why I am such a big advocate for homeschooling our kids and discipleship starting at home, because that is your foundation that is going to make such a huge difference moving forward. So obviously if we're already into the grown children, we have grandchildren, we kind of are down that road a little bit more. because yes, the answer starts with discipleship. We don't train we don't just like, we don't want to just have kids that grow up in a Christian home and said a little prayer at church. We want to train our children up in the ways of the Lord. And our children cannot know what the ways of the Lord are if they don't know scripture. Our kids should be in the word every single day, and we should be right there leading the charge right alongside of them. Like, that's key. We have to know what God's word says in order to walk in his ways. It's that simple, right? Like, we have to be in it. We have to know it. But then I think especially, this is where it comes in. If this is, your children are grown and now it's grandchildren, it is a little bit further out. You're not just a mom at home with a bunch of young kids. I think even for those that are finding this and kind of finding the faith and all of that, with teenage children and older children, the same thing applies. And the truth of it is you have to be making those changes yourself first. You cannot go. It's like me saying, hey, you know what? I am overweight. I am not eating healthy. I am struggling with all these things, but I am now a fitness instructor. You guys wouldn't trust me as a fitness instructor because you're watching me like chow down bonbons. I'm overweight. I'm clearly not in good health. Like, I'm guzzling soda all day, right? You're not going to pay me if I'm like, hey, here's my $800 a week fitness course. Come join me. You'd be like, lady, you're crazy. If I'm in debt, can't live paycheck to paycheck, driving an old broken down car and renting some, junky trailer, you're not going to hire me as your financial advisor because I clearly don't know what I'm doing, considering I can't even keep two pennies to rub together, right? But if I roll up in a Mercedes and I've got, I'm carrying my Louis bag and I'm, doing all of my stuff, I'm going to have a little more of that credibility of like, oh, wow, this person clearly knows what she's talking about when it comes to money because clearly she's dealing with it, right? Just like you're going to go to that fitness instructor who's really fit and you can see their muscles and right? Like you're going to be like, oh, wow, like, you know what you're talking about because you're living it. And if I want to get fit or I want to get rich or whatever the thing is you're trying to do, like, you're going to trust that person. So I say that because if we say it in that instance, we're all like, oh, well, yeah, obviously I'm not going to go pay a financial advisor who's bankrupt, right? Like, I'm not going to go pay a fitness instructor who's overweight and like visibly unhealthy. So if we want our children and grandchildren to truly come to a saving knowledge of the Lord, to have faith, to walk in his ways, to live everything that they do through a biblical lens, we have to first be doing that ourselves. And I know I've talked with so many moms and they go, oh, my kids, my kid is just so anxious about everything and they're always so worried and everything going on in the world just has them shaking in their boots. And I'm like, okay. But then mom is that way because she doesn't have strong faith and everything that happens, you know what I mean? And it's like, the whole apple tree saying we have, that's where it comes from. And so I think that, yes, of course, the first is that we are training our kids up in the ways of the Lord so that they know what his word says. But so big into that, and especially when you have older kids, or if you're just now coming to the faith and maybe you haven't been a Christian for very long, is that you are taking it seriously yourself. That you lead, just like Peter says, right? For a wife to an unbelieving spouse, it's not by your words. You don't just like harp it into your kids. God wouldn't do that. That's bad. That's bad. That's bad, right? Everything's bad. Everything's sinful. Everything's worldly, right? We just, and I get it. Sometimes it's hard because we're watching choices of things that kids are choosing and things, and you're just like, I'm going to strangle you, like, I get it. But if we're just kind of doing that and just constantly nagging, we become that proverb wife that's like the dripping faucet, the torture device. And it's the man would rather go sleep up on the roof than be in the house with her because she's just, right? You think of like Miss Olsen in Little House on the Prairie. But we don't want to be that. We want to, by our conduct, without a word, we can win them to truth. And I think that's so incredibly important. Are there times that you'll find that you need to speak up, that you need to put your foot down? Yes, absolutely. But a lot of times, I think most of us have the problem that we need to bite our tongue and we need to shush and we need to step back. And if you're not going to win them with what you have to say, then maybe we don't need to say it right now. Maybe let your actions speak louder. And as far as growing faith, I think one of the biggest issues that we have today is the fact that we try to protect our children from any discomfort. I went through some awful things as a kid. Awful. I would not wish them on my children, anyone's children at all. I have my own issues I have to deal with because of those things that I had to go through. But at the same time, those things that I went through, the Lord has used to turn me into the person that I am today. And there have been plenty of times throughout my adult life where I'm like, wow, I'm really thankful that I went through that, because now here in this situation, I'm like, yep, okay. I think so often, and I get it. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I don't want my kids to experience bad things. My husband and I have worked incredibly hard, like to our own faults, where, we really struggled for a while. We both grew up with single moms, super poor. And so we had a major issue for a good amount of time where we were like obsessed with our children not going through those struggles that we did, to the point then that we spent loads of money. We became like very like materialistic in the way that we just wanted our kids to never want, like I don't want them to have that. I made sure every birthday was over the top. Every holiday was over the top. We did all the things. We lived in the right neighborhood. They wore the right brands. Like I made sure my kids always had that because I didn't want them to feel the discomfort that I felt when I didn't have, and I had to go watch friends who did. And so I thought that was the right thing to do. My kids are going to have everything then, right? Like, I mean, it was so ridiculous. We went into debt to buy our son a Power Wheel, like a hot rod convertible looking Power Wheel for his second birthday, because I was so determined. Yes, because I was so determined that we had to outdo, I always was trying to outdo the year before. The poor kid didn't even like it, never even touched it the whole time. He played with it a little bit here and there. And when we actually lost everything in a flood, it literally got picked up by the flood and like we watched it like, whew, go away. And I remember just kind of looking at me and like, wow, that was the dumbest thing I've ever done. Huh. What am I thinking? Right? Like what matters in life? But I think that's it. I think sometimes we want our kids to have strong faith, but like we don't let those opportunities of faith growing happen. We want to like step in and protect them, or we want to try to avoid them altogether. And sure, we should avoid things that we can avoid, but I still think that there's part of it where faith isn't something you can just give someone. Like I can tell you all day, Sabrina, this is how it's going to go. I know this is how it's going to go. Just have better faith. I can tell you this all day, right? Because that doesn't work. I can show you that I have the utmost faith, and I can apply those words and like show you by my conduct that I absolutely know it's all going to be okay. May we pivot, may we change, may things happen. Yes, but I know it's going to be okay. And so I'm just going to keep on keeping on. I can show you that. And when the poopy things happen and the stuff goes down, I can then pray that by my conduct and my response in faith, that those the Lord has put into my path will see that and go, oh, whatever happens with that, happens with that. But faith isn't something that you can make someone have. So I can't make my kids have faith. Like I can't make someone do that. That's part of your inner workings as you grow. And so I think that, yes, there's the training them up, standing for truth, speak up when it's time to speak up, bite your tongue when you need to bite your tongue. But the more that you live this out and you are that example, you're sowing those seeds. And that's what goes to your children. That's what goes to your grandchildren. That's what goes to an unbelieving spouse. That's what goes to, whatever it is, any person. But it's by doing that I think we see real change. And that sucks. I feel like that sucks because It's not guaranteed. It's not overnight. It's not just like, hey, mix these 3 ingredients, put it in the oven, ta-da, you got it, you know? And that's hard because I think a lot of times we want that. I want to say, hey, A, B, C, D, there you go.
I had so many thoughts while you were talking. Go figure.
Imagine that.
Everything still boils down with you to one and done is the worst thing ever. It just really does boil back down to that you cannot do like, you're saved, right? And then them go, yes, I'm saved. And then they're saved. Like, that's not how it works. And so one and done is the worst thing ever. Everything that really, really is embedded in us, I believe, is caught more than taught. Like, you catch on to the things that are going on in your house. You don't need to be taught them. You just catch on. It's like, it's the goings on. It's the daily grind. It's just, this is the rhythm. This is the movement that happens. Nobody needs to be taught that. It just, you observe it. More is caught than taught. I'm positive we were all teenagers once. As a teenager, how would you have liked to hear it? Like, if somebody were telling you over and over again that, well, God doesn't do it like that, that's like, that makes me feel like God has an absorbent amount of microscopic rules that if I don't follow them to the T, I'm getting it wrong. And I'm the type of person that if I get any part of it wrong, my natural instinct is to, when I spill the milk, theoretically, I want to pour out the gallon on the floor because it's all gone to poop and it's just downhill from here. And that's the way it works. Now, I'm not saying that's like
game over, man. Like, that's it. But that is, you're so right. I think that is that point where we remember, how would you want to have heard it?
I would want to have seen my mother sitting at the table when I was getting ready for school and reading the Bible and having us talking about it and like it being an important thing throughout the day. Or when I saw my grandmother, that would be like an integral part. Maybe we're cooking and doing something, but we're having these deep conversations. And it's just the rhythms of the things. Yeah. And then you were talking about, you were raising entitled, awful children. Oh my goodness. I am so glad that you have been broke for as long as you have been, because
it solved everything.
We would not have been friends.
No, but isn't that like the biblical line of it? That was the whole point, right? To the rich young ruler. When he was like, I'm doing everything. What are you talking about? And Jesus goes, okay, we'll go sell all your stuff. And he goes away sad. But I think that's so it. Like we'll cling to the things that we think like I have to have, right? I was trying to overcompensate for being a teen mom and all of the, whatever. So I'm like, we're going to go this way. And like, that's what matters. That's what makes the difference.
In a weird way, you were trying to compensate for God. Like, yes, you were just afraid that he wasn't going to do it. And you were like, no worries, God. Okay. I know that I didn't have it as a kid and I would have been a better person at this point in my life if I would have had those things growing up. Okay, God, I know better than the plan you had for me.
Clearly, I have it under control. Let me take over.
So let me just do this for my children because you didn't do it for me. So like, I'm going to do it for my kids. I'm so glad that your kids are not like this, like that they didn't absorb that because they did not absorb this at all. And
which isn't that a blessing? And that's where I say, like, despite our best efforts to ruin our lives, God, like, coming up on 20 years of marriage, only because of God, not because of us. We did everything in our power to try to destroy it. It's not us. Our kids, we look at the things in all of us are getting things wrong with our kids. All of us are getting things wrong with whatever, like, it happens, right? We do our best, but none of us are perfect. But I look at the things like that we did thinking it was the right thing to do. And especially our oldest, because he was the one who went through the most of it. It is by God's grace that child is the least material of, like, sometimes we're almost like, Trav, you should maybe be a slightly more materialistic, like just maybe just a little bit. Like we almost did it too good. But I feel like even when we were in that process, we were like trying to address the hard issue. We just didn't know it and couldn't figure it out. So there was still this line there that we tried to embed of, like, this isn't what matters or makes our day, but it's important. Like, I don't know. It's like we were trying, we were just so off in it. And yes, I am very thankful that my children are not super messed up, because we probably could have done some damage, but I'm very, very thankful.
So the other part of that is that strength can only be developed through exercise, and practice is what exercise is. And so strength can only be developed through practice. And if you are never given the opportunity to practice, you're going to suck at it.
Yeah. You're going to do an awful job.
It's going to be bad. So the more, and I have a daughter who she's 19, she's almost 20. So
crazy.
So we have an almost 20-year-old, and she lives in her own house. And she gets to make her own rules and do her own thing, and she is her own adult. And so now I feel like it's like a test, because it's like I did all the work preemptively, and now, like,
you're putting it out there.
It just gets to do its thing, and I'm like, oh, good job. Oh, okay.
Right.
She's the type of person that has to learn from doing it herself. I can tell her 10 gillion, million, billion times that this is A plus B equals C. And if she cannot visually see the proof or understand it in some physical, tangible way, she's like, I don't know if I believe you.
Are you sure? Are you sure A plus B equals C? Let me try it. Yeah.
So she's just an ever skeptic. And so she never believes anybody, nothing. She has to, like, learn it and do it for herself. So we always pray that God teaches her the lesson that she is meant to learn from whatever event, activity it is, and that she will learn it the most comfortable way that she can, because it's going to hurt, whatever lesson it is. Like, it's going to be an uncomfortable moment, but I'm praying that she realizes and learns the lesson that God wanted her to learn from that exercise, that she developed that muscle before she rips the muscle apart. And sometimes some people have to rip muscles apart. We've all been there. We've all screwed up. Come on. But it's how you, like, pivot, and how you change directions, and how you encourage somebody who has really fallen, and, like, this is the way to go. It's okay. Because sure, religion has rules and God has certain dynamics that you really should follow. But it doesn't have to be like step out of the line and you get slapped in the head. like, it doesn't have to be that like dramatic. It can be a guidance and a, no, just this way a little bit.
Yeah, when we understand that, and this understanding can only come from scripture, that he's not just this vengeful God that sits up in the clouds, and anytime you step off of his golden path, you're going to get zapped with a lightning bolt, right? But yet that's like an overwhelming understanding for many people, even adults, of what being a Christian is. And that's where it's like discipleship is key. It has to be for all of us. We have to be discipled. We have to be discipling. Like, until you have that and continue to have that and grow in that, it's going to be difficult. And that's why it should be a priority.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
All the way around.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate the next question.
Is it the one you tried to not include and I specifically asked you about before we got started?
Uh-huh. It sure is.
Let's do it. Read it. I can't wait.
Not that I appreciate that the person wrote this, but like, I don't know where this
is showing.
I don't know where this is going to go to. And okay.
I do.
Okay, y'all.
Guys, it's because she's shy. That's why she's doing all this. It's because she's shy. And I have taken it as my personal task to fill her with so much glitter and rainbow sparkles that she's just going to be like, wah! Like that's what's happening here. What is the question?
Y'all are a hoot. Can you give more of an explanation when you speak about how you Sabrina-fied your conversation with your daughter? Like, what is this skill you are using or communication that you do with your kids? It sounds like it would be a huge help. Thanks.
Ding. Well, friends, we took half of this Chatty coffee date to answer one question. Now we're probably going to take the second half to answer one more question. So this might be our record-breaking, like, fewest amount of things we've ever actually covered.
No. Last week we didn't cover any. So the fact that we covered one is like this is what you have to do. You had to bring us down to the bottom so that any improvement is oh golly. It
was clearly what I was going for. I had this planned out, obviously.
I'm sorry.
So I brought up the other day that and I say all of this. This is why Sabrina's hating this, because she, how do I say this publicly? She doesn't know, she hasn't had people in her life that pour positive into her, like minus her husband and her children, obviously. Like they're literally the best things in the whole wide world. I mean that seriously. But when you are a person who's never had people that should be pouring positive things into you, then it makes it very difficult to have positive things poured into you, like me guzzling glitter and sprinkles onto her. So that's why she gets weird and why she hates all of this. But I want to say that since getting to know her, and this is why I believe so strongly that even against her own desire and comfortability, I'm making her do this podcast and eventually a talk show. While we're out here, I want to be more like Sabrina when I grow up. Because here is why. I have learned so much from the way she talks, the way she responds, the way she listens, the way she questions, like all of these things. Now, we talked about earlier how I'm like that little wind-up doll that I'm just like, I am the most stereotypical fly by the seat of my pants, no preparation, just, woo, we're going. I mean, I will go running full speed off the side of a cliff and I think of the Lego movie, how they're always like, wow, and then they just build it in the air. So like they're literally falling and they're like, oh, build a plane. Oh, build a. Yes. Okay. Yes.
Quick insert here. That's hilarious because I use the Lego movie as an analogy with my husband because I am the guy who has to pull out the manual and is like, on page 3, that block doesn't look like the rest of the blocks. We can't build this. And he is the guy who is like, and it's done. And I'm like, how did you know what a jumbo jet looked like, let alone how to build one? Because I'm on page 3 and this block is missing. You and him are quite similar.
Yes,
and so
you and my husband are very similar with you're still on page 3 going, these blocks don't look the same. Where me and your husband are very similar that we're like, it's cool.
So it's just hilarious to hear you use the exact same analogy that I use with my husband and you're using it over here. Sorry, so sorry. I'll bite my tongue.
But it is. No, but that like, that's genuinely it. So I get that I am the extreme on that side. I do understand that. And I'm the most just like, got it. I just whatever. My husband will make fun of me because I don't even realize how much I go, whatever. And he always says that. And I'm like, is that a thing I say? Do I say that? And he was like, yes, you say that all the time. Because to me, I can see the end result and it's all going to be good. And however we get there, it doesn't matter because like, it's all great. Let's go. Like, everything is awesome. Like, I mean, Lego movie here. I am definitely that, like, everything is always awesome. And that's why when I have a down day, like something does add up, it's a little bit more of a bigger deal because it's like, oh, wow, something's actually like, I mean, I have cranky days here and there. And anyways, that's not what we're talking about. Anyway, my problem is that I just go full throttle all the time. I'm just always on to the next something, whatever. That's not necessarily the best skill in life. It was easy when I was a mom of little kids to be that way because they just got to catch up, right? Just come on, we're going. And as my kids have gotten older, and apparently you have to take other people's like feelings into consideration and stuff like that. I see your face. That's not my strong suit. I actually told my husband, I figured it out the other day because you were having a really bad day and it like really hit me. And I was like, it is killing me that I can't like show up with glitter and sparkles and be like, happy. You know, like it genuinely, like it kills me to not just be like, no, come on, I'm on the fun train. Like, come on, y'all, we're getting on the fun train. Because that's what I do. And I build the fun train while we're going. Like, well, okay, we'll build a fun train. So I started really noticing, especially with my daughter as she got older, that we have a lot of ways that we're similar, but we have a lot of ways that we're not. And so when I just want to go full throttle all of the time and just like, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I remember nothing. Bad. I don't ever hold anything against anyone. Like once it's happened and it's gone. It doesn't exist. Like my husband will bring up really big things that we've gone through, like struggles, bad things. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I kind of vaguely remember that. And he's like, this was a really big deal.
So your brain is like a whiteboard that you can just wipe off?
Always.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Just gone. Like I remember nothing bad. It just, I mean, maybe if I thought about it or I could like tell you a story, but it's not like it clings to me. You know, like I can tell you a story of something really awful that happened. Like, yes, I know it did happen, but I'm like, well, today's a new day. Here we go. I don't have like, it doesn't. Brandon would get so frustrated because when I go to bed at night, it's kind of like 51st Dates, right? How she's like a new person every day. But like, we would like be up all night fighting. I would fall asleep and he'd still be going. And I'm like, I fall asleep. I wake up the next day. I'm like, morning, how's it going? He's like, we didn't really like finish our conversation or we go, I don't know. I'm good. What were we fighting about? Like, I'm that person, which seems great sometimes in some ways. But then as our kids are getting older, and especially our daughter, I started to notice ways that I really was like, wow, I'm failing you. Like I had it covered when you were littler, but like you're older and you need more. And I'm a bad mom. I am not a good mom and I don't know what to do because this is how I'm feeling, right? I'm feeling like, wow, I'm totally failing you. Usually being the like eternal sunshine is a good thing, right? Just be like, it's okay. Come on. It's okay. Forget about it. It'll all be good. But then you start running into instances where like, it's not a good thing. And your kids aren't feeling heard and, all of these different struggles and problems and things. And they can't just hop on my fun train all the time. And so I started learning. We actually went to you and I said, hey, I know this isn't your job, but you're so good at this and I am so bad at it. And your children are so amazing. Like you have done such a better job because your kids are all older. Your kids are all teens and mine are like coming up into that now. And I was like, you've clearly got it figured out. I clearly am failing my children. Would you help us? Like, can we call you and just talk with you? Like, can you like do this with us? And you thought it was the weirdest thing in the whole wide world that I was asking you all these questions, but you did it because you care about our children. And you were like, if this is something that's really bothering you, like, I mean, absolutely. You just want me to talk with you guys? Like what? And I really
just want to call and talk to me. Like, that's weird. That's really all you're expecting. Okay. I can do that. I love your daughter. Like, of course I'll just call and listen to her talk.
Yeah.
Sure. So it'd be like this. Like I would just literally jump on a phone call and I'd sit and listen to her chat. That's it.
But I started noticing that you listened. I am not the best listener because as soon as I hear something, I start going into that like frantic, like in the air Lego making, like, okay, let's do this. And that's what it needs. I'm a doer. And so to just simply listen and not do, like, I'm like short circuiting. I'm like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Like, but what do we do? So listening, just how you would sit there and listen. And then this, I know to you don't think this is a big deal, but to some of us, so maybe there's other people, either that or y'all are listening to me and y'all will just realize I'm nuts and nobody's like this, but you listen and then you would clarify what you heard. And that was like, I kept saying it like this. It sounds simple. But that was such a light bulb moment to me because I, again, will admit that I am a ask for forgiveness, not permission person. I can usually talk my way in and out of anything. And it's got to be like quite a brick wall that says no for me to stop. Everything is always something will work. Everything's always, it'll happen somehow. And so when I hear things my kids say, I'm already thinking in my head, well, this is what it should be, or this is what you should be doing, or this, like, I'm filtering it through my brain map of, here. I think this is what's best. That, like, I just go into like that. And so to listen and then clarify their intent, their meaning, their feelings. I am not an emotional person. Like, that's an area that I severely struggle in. It's caused many issues in my marriage. It's caused issues for me as a mom. And I have to intentionally focus on that because it's a really big struggle for me. And it makes me like, it's one of those things that makes me kind of self-conscious because I'm like, I know everybody's wanting emotions and I don't have them and I'm sorry, like whatever. And so seeing how that was hurting kids who do have more emotions that they're working through and not just suppressing like me, those were really big pieces that I was like, wow, I'm trying so hard to be all the way over here, right? I was raised over here, so I'm trying to be really hard over here because I'm trying to like make everything great, right? But I'm actually causing issues because I'm so this. And so learning from you, seeing how you and your husband have raised some of the most amazing children in the whole wide world. I adore your children. After you guys were here for 10 days, like all of my kids were like, we just need them here. That like, I mean, Olivia ditched me so fast and was so glued to you that she actually apologized to me because she was like, oh yeah, mom, I do love you. I just love this burrito so much. I was like, sweetie, it's okay. It's okay. But you're so good. You are so good at listening, at really understanding where someone's at thinking through it and asking questions, genuinely coming to something that not with like a preconceived, I will come into a conversation and I absolutely always have a preconceived result of what I'm going to make sure I get out of this conversation. I don't even notice I'm doing it and I do it. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I don't know, right? But I just do that. So coming into something without that to me was like, whoa, that's huge. So I'm just going to be here. I'm going to listen. I'm going to ask questions to make sure that I understand deeper. And then I'm going to thoughtfully like discuss, follow up, again, and keep that cycle of like listen, question, like that process, like keep doing that. And I kind of feel dumb now saying all this stuff out loud publicly on the internet because as I'm saying it, I'm like, I get these are like really simple things, but I don't think it's necessarily a simple thing for us to do that. And especially when our kids are little, I feel like it's easy. You tell them what to do, right? Like, here's what's good, here's what's bad, here's what you do, here's whatever. But then they start to get older and it's like, ooh, these tactics that I got really good at for all these years don't work anymore. Like, whew, gone. Then what tactics do I use? Because now my toolbox no longer works. And some of us don't naturally have those things already, like me. I'm really bad at it. And so we were having struggles and we were butting head. And I'm not a person who gives in. Like, I'm here to win. That's why I say, like, biblical woman, and like, yeah, meek, gentle spirit doesn't come easy for me. I am your most stereotypical, like, strong, independent woman. Like, I don't go into anything expecting to lose. I will always be the winner. So I have to work hard to remember to humble myself and say, hey, slow your roll, know your place, stay in your lane. Like, you don't have to dominate everything, but I have to like really, really work at that. And so even going with my kids and seeing things where I couldn't just come in and be like, okay, cool. You feel that way. Here's how it's going to be. Here's what's happening. Here's what, like, that was a really, really difficult thing to go through. And so since learning, when we get into things, and especially when I feel my flesh is weak and I just want to Heidi-fy it all, I have this little voice back here that's your voice, and it just goes, okay, hold on. Let's listen. Like, but actually listen, not me going, okay, here's what it is, right? Because that's how I normally listen. Let's listen. Let's ask questions. Let's clarify. How did that make you feel? Why do you think you did that? Why, right? Like I start to think of things that you've done to me and then apply them with the kids. And then the conversation turns. And by simply doing those first steps and not just coming at everything like a bull in a china shop, which is kind of how some of us are like that, to see my kids start to respond and open up and share. And then I keep biting my tongue, remembering, ooh, no, Sabrina listens. And then I do those things. The success rate that this has had blows my mind. my kids' responses, but then like that deeper like relationship building between us, I'm like, that's how she does it. That's how she has great kids and a wonderful marriage, and she's such a good friend. And I'm like, okay, maybe for some of y'all, those are like simple things that you'd be like, oh, obviously, listen and da da da, whatever. But it's not just listening, right? It's that deep, like you're not trying to come into it with your preconceived notion. You're not coming into it to share. It's just, it's so, you're so genuine and pure with it that I honestly had never even considered. Like, that's how I Sabrinify my conversations with my kids. And you're a genius because the success rate has been phenomenal. And I really do credit you. Okay, I'll say this last part. Having a daughter terrified me because there are really not any good mother-daughter relationships in my family. I've never really seen a good mother-daughter relationship. My mom and I'm very thankful for our relationship now. It was not this way. And both of us in the wrong. Like, it was not this way. When we found out we were having a girl, I was terrified. And all my husband ever wanted was a little girl. But then I was like, And then the Lord laughed and we had 3 girls. Terrified. So it's an area that I've been so anxious about making sure we did it right, but also not knowing how to. And so I will forever be thankful to you for this, because as she was getting older and things would come up that I was like, this is not going how I think it should be going. Like, what do I do here? Learning from you and starting to apply this and then reaping the fruit of it. I don't get it right every time. I certainly don't. But I try really hard, and to see like the success and the blessing and the stuff that comes from it. And I get it. We can take this back to very simplistic biblical values. Like, I get it. But seeing you live that out and be that person, that mom, that wife, that friend, like seeing you do that and then applying that to the best of my ability in my circumstances, and then seeing that happen was just so like, so I do. When we run into things, I go, how would Sabrina respond to this? What would she ask? What would she do?
I sound like a therapist, and that's terrible because I just want to
so,
be.
you're so good.
No,
You're so good.
I'm just having conversations with people, and I've made the conversation into some weird therapy thing. And Jim and Pam are going, I respect what you're saying, but I value, and this is a terrible.
Speak my truth. But you're like, but I feel like we need more of that in the world today, right? I feel like there's too many people that are me that are like, I'm here to get what I'm here to get out of it. And like, I already have my thing. So like, that's it. Like, there's too much of that. And so that simple act of like, no, pause, listen, question, genius.
People rarely say what they think.
Yeah.
And what they first say is rarely what they actually genuinely feel, because you've heard it through a filter of your own preconceived notions, and even in reality, definitions. Like, there are certain words that have solid definitions, and then there are some words that it's left open to interpretation. Well, is this a word that you're interpreting as meaning that other thing, and I'm meaning this other thing? Or are we all meaning the same thing by the words that we're saying? Because, like, I could be saying table, and you're going, that's a bench. Well, okay, I understand. So, but when you break down how I talk, I sound awful.
No, it is genuinely the best. And I think a lot of our person-to-person problems would literally be eradicated if we all did this more.
Now, I do think that I do have one thing that I know I do that is weird.
Okay. Just one.
Just one.
Yes.
Like, I know I'm a weirdo, but like, I know this one particular little weirdo thing that I do because I've come to people and I ask them that sometimes in a conversation, when I'm going to have one with my children, I will walk up to them and I'll say, "Hi, this is not an emotional conversation. I'm data collecting." Mm-hmm. And they'll go, "Oh, okay." Because it means that I'm not coming at them. Well, why are you? How did you? No, I'm asking for data.
You've literally defined the expectation.
Yes.
So I now know.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
You do it to me. You and I, we've been in conversations and you're like, hold on.
So what kind of answer are you seeking? Do you want me to just sit here? Because genuinely, there are times where my child just needs to rant. She needs to info dump because she has had a poopy day at work and she has come over to info dump and to word vomit so that her body doesn't feel as yucky anymore and she can process her things and then have a better day. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's all she needs. She doesn't want me to fix it. She doesn't want me to do any of the stuff. She wants me to listen. Okay. Tell me about your day. How was it? And she'll just like, oh, wow.
That's a lot of things.
Okay. I've had conversations with my son because he has a very different communication style. I've had conversations with him where I can see that he feels uncomfortable. Like he gets really he gets like I get.
Fidgety.
My son and I are kind of like, we are very similar. So we get like twitchy and fidgety and that's uncomfortable. We literally don't know how to hold uncomfortable.
Literally uncomfortable in your skin. Like it literally feels like it's crawling.
So I asked him, would this be a more comfortable conversation if I wasn't looking at you? Because maybe that's giving you like a weird vibe and you think that I'm judging you in all of these different ways. So can you just like sit beside of me and I'm going to do computer work, but I'm actually genuinely listening to you and I'm available at any time. I'm just occupying my eyes so that you have time to like do your thing. He appreciates that greatly because he doesn't feel attacked that way. Mm-hmm. I've had to come into conversations with my husband and I'm like, no, stop thinking I am being this like attacking person. You don't have to be defensive because I'm just asking a question. I'm just data seeking. I'm not accusing you of anything. Nothing is happening. No words have any meaning. I'm just asking for data. I'm going to take it down in my notebook and then I'll go process. Okay. And quite often, just the expectational status of something is quite helpful with our family. That doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody, but like, hey, I've asked my daughter to grab a cup of tea and to join me in my bedroom. And she's like, oh. And I said, well, this is going to be more of an emotional conversation and less of a like data conversation. So I want you to get comfortable because I have some data questions to ask you, but I know you enough that you're going to want something. So could you do that for me? And she's like, oh, okay, I can do that. I can prepare that way. I understand as a person who processes information slowly that if I don't give other people time to process what I'm saying to them, then they can't really give me any information. So we have a lot of conversations that have processing time. But I do nothing special. I don't get this, but I totally 1,000% understand what you're saying about girls. Our first was a girl. I didn't even have the boy as the like starter. I had the girl who I was afraid of first. And specifically, there are so where you said that there are not many female relationships in your family that are good, strong bonds that you can even like, oh, we can base it off of that. That's what we're going to strive to be like. You don't have anything to even go off of. All you have are like negatives to go off of.
Mm-hmm. I know what I don't want to do.
I got a list of no's, but I don't know what it's supposed to look like. So like, okay. I'm the first female in my family. I actually, I am a 6th generation Lee. And so like, I have my dad's middle name because I was a girl and I was supposed to be a boy. Mm-hmm. So I have no relationships to go off of at all. None. And with our daughter, I continued to think, what kind of relationship am I wanting to grow with them when they're adults? Mm. Do I have a close relationship with my sisters? How can I foster the relationship between these sisters? Because they're my children. But like, how do I foster that relationship and make sure that the communication is like, that they have a safe environment? I think that's all of it, is that everybody has a safe environment that they can feel heard. Because if you do not feel heard, you're going to stop talking. Mm-hmm. If you don't feel heard, you're going to stop talking. And when you don't hear your children, they're going to start shutting down and stop talking. And I wanted to like, you know that thing where they're like, oh, they're going to stop snuggling you one day, so you better snuggle them while it lasts. I wanted that snuggling to last as long as I could. So I made sure to like pour into that and to tell them that this is a safe place, that they're allowed to, while I'm sleeping on the couch, my daughter will get home from work and literally flop herself on top of me because she's had a bad day and she needs snuggles. Mm-hmm. Okay. This is a safe place that you can come and flop on top of you for your mom, and I'll snuggle you and pet your head and tell you it's okay. Mm-hmm. It's a safe spot. So when you create safe spaces, they'll continue to talk, and that's all I did. That's it. I want people to talk to me, and I don't want to chase people off, and I just want people to like me. So I'll be quiet. You can keep talking.
No, but I think that is like the genius in it, though, you know, because I think we all do that. And it's like, I mean, I think of the ways that I went and sought out the information when I was a kid in the like late 90s, like compared to what our kids have access to now. And then we counsel with parents all the time. And the stuff that comes from all of a sudden their friends. Oh, I'm not trying to thumbs up you. All of a sudden their friends are more valuable. What their friends have to say is more valuable than what their parents have to say. Well, because guess what? When they go to their friends are interested and they're listening and they're like digging into it and like, you know, whatever. So I'm not doing it, but the friend, well, that's how friends become more valuable to your kids than their parents. And I'm like, absolutely not.
That's how gangs are formed. Like literally, guys, this is how gangs are formed. Mm-hmm. And gangs are just a really aggressive group of awful teenagers. But now you're like, that's who you're sending your kid to and telling them that's a good place to get your information. Don't talk to me. I'm too busy. Don't talk to me. I got my own life. I'm doing my own thing.
Go to your friends, go to the internet, go to YouTube. You know,
I wanted to be the person. And I'm like, I'll always be your person. I don't care. I don't care if I'm that mom that's like, I don't care if you get drunk. Like, that's a really stupid decision and don't do it. But like, there are worse decisions to make, and driving home. I better
be the person you call.
Please call me. Please call me. I love you and I want you to be safe. And I promise I will make sure that you at least get home safely. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm probably going to call you a couple days later and say, yo,
we'll deal with that. Yeah.
But like, I'm so glad you're safe and thank you for trusting me. And that's always how it is. And I think that you have to start fostering that when they're like preteens and teenagers, because teenagers turn into young adults and then they're adults and then they're gone. My almost 20-year-old literally comes over every day after work. Every single day she leaves her shop. She works at a grocery store and she drives across town to hang out with us and tell us about her day, to drive past her grocery store and go to her house that she lives right next to her grocery store. She does this every day just to chat with us and hang out because we've made it a thing that we do. Come over and emotionally dump on me because I'm here. I'll listen.
Let's talk about your day. How are you doing? What's going on?
Oh, do you just need to like sit there and scroll on your phone for 10 minutes and like decompress? Okay, cool. Here's a spot to do that. Have fun. There's an air conditioner. There's a heater, whatever. You want a cup of tea? No, I just need to sit here. Okay. When you're ready, I'll be here. And then I go to the like doing my stuff. Or I'm like cleaning the thing or doing the thing. And they just like, because I'm in the space, then they go, oh, okay, I'm ready to talk. And then I just go, okay, let's talk. It doesn't seem like anything special. Nothing.
No. This, friends, is how you Sabrina-fy your conversations with your kids. And I think it is insanely important. And I will forever be thankful to you for it, even though you thought you were just being you. Like, I will forever be thankful for this. Because for some of us, it didn't come. It probably would have even been like 10th in line in my thought process of what I should do. So I really am like, that's what I mean by it. And that's what I've done. And even though we're kind of new in the doing that part, I'm seeing the results. And anytime I haven't done it and I've been weak to my own flesh and responded in a Heidi way, I pay the price for it. And I'm like, ooh, why couldn't I just shut my pie hole? Why couldn't I just do it, Sabrina?
I still do that. And I still respond. I can see it. I can visually see it when we're very expressive and like I cannot control my face. And it just makes these weird faces all the time. And so I've had to tell people that I'm having a conversation with, I make really weird faces. This is me processing. I'm not like, this is not me judging you. This is not me doing anything. This is literally my body is processing the information that you're telling me. And I'm so like invested in it that my face is doing all these things and I can't control it. But I promise I'm not like grossed out by it. But because my kids have these very specific faces and I'm like, oh, I just shut you down. I'm so sorry. I said the wrong words. Ugh, I won't do that next time. And then I learn and I don't say that thing next time and I don't make that assumption about what she said or whatever.
Yeah. But that's the key. And I think it's really, really important. And so I'm thankful to you for doing that, like for teaching me. And then if we can share this and it can be something that can go and be a blessing for someone else, I just think that's the coolest thing in the whole wide world.
Y'all, I'll teach anybody how to listen because
right, again, like we can break this down biblically, like we can do it, like I get it, but to actually watch someone do it and do it so well and to learn from in that was like, I get saying it, it's really simple. And it's like, obviously, Heidi, it's not that difficult. I get it, but it was. And so it made a huge impact. And I'm excited to see like that impact now. Like we didn't have anything good to go from. So now we do. And now it can grow and it can, that's awesome. Well, look at us. We answered 2 questions today, which is better because last week we did 0. So technically it's not the worst that we've ever done. But if you guys have any questions ever, like today as you're listening on any of the daily bit, like anything, just leave us a little coffee cup emoji so that way we know that you want, look at, I almost finished my whole teapot. We know that you want it answered in our weekly chatty coffee dates that we do. And we're more than happy to answer it. And I think especially we did some that were a little more rapid fire. So, I mean, we'll try to get through maybe next week. We'll check off a few more, but I think these ones were big ones, were important ones. And I'm glad that we got to tackle them because that's big stuff today.
I think discipleship, anything with our children and pouring into them, I think these questions are going to take a little bit longer, just in general, because they are so deeply important. They're life altering because you're talking about altering your children's lives. So I think we should do deep things about some of these. Some of them we can totally rapid fire.
Yeah. These were
discipleship ones kind of are deep.
Because it's too important to just be like, yeah.
2 minutes, hurry, go answer this about how you're going to disciple your kids for the next 20 years. Go, do it now. And you're like, I don't have an answer.
Do it well, I don't know. Yeah, pretty much. So thank you for being here and for chatty-teeing with me. And I hope you all are really just having a great day. Thank you for joining us. Of course, be back Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Set a reminder in your phone. We are doing lives every Wednesday at 11 and doing prayer requests and going through and praying together as a community. So set a reminder for that. We got some great videos coming out this week, big things that I'm really excited to get to share with you guys. So we will see you all, of course, right back for the rest of those. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you, Miss Sabrina, for joining me. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye, friends.